Okay, so welcome to another episode
Big
of
Girl Britches.
Big Girl Britches podcast. And today's super exciting guest is Paige Gardner.
Good morning.
Good morning. We match.
Do we match?
Well, me and her
y'all
match.
You see what I was wearing?
I love
I love
her
it.
fundraiser shirt.
Yeah.
Okay, so
It goes well with my life.
Paige does not know this, but we had actually talked about her a month and a half ago, about being on the podcast.
Yes.
Oh.
And I've just delayed getting our lineup ready.
Yes. Well, we had a lot of technical difficulties that got us here.
Yeah, it's totally fine though. So I wanted to have you on. Number one, Lacey doesn't know any background about the situation
Okay.
of your life. I say the situation.
I stayed unbiased. I asked her, should I?
And I told her I'm not going to tell you the little pieces that I know, and then I'm not going to ask you things yet. I didn't want to ask you anything that I didn't know.
Okay.
Because I want to hear your take on everything now.
Okay.
So we're going to pretend like nobody knows anything about the Gardners.
Okay.
And so we're going to ask you all the questions.
Okay.
And hear all the things. And I'm so excited about it because I know Troy was on a podcast recently.
He was.
And he got to tell his whole story. But here's the thing about what I like about women is that we carry so much of a load. And everybody, for instance, my husband he was prior service, PTSD, and everybody, we support our service members constantly. But it's really interesting to me to see the woman's side, the woman's perspective at home, the one who's trying to keep everything together under a tidy little bow.
Faking it till they're making it.
How often does that
Absolutely.
ever actually happen? Do you ever get a bow tied
No.
on any of your life? No.
Mm-mm.
And people ask questions all the time about balance. I'm like, good luck with that.
Yeah.
I don't know what that even is.
Making it one day at a time. People
Yeah.
are like, how do you do that? One day at a time.
One day
I
at
don't
a
think
time.
about tomorrow
Yeah.
till 10 o'clock tonight.
That's
Yeah.
we mentioned people having lots of kids. How do you go from 1 to 5? You just do. Your whole life adjusts to having.
Yeah, because I
that.
try to think about just having one child. And
Yeah. Paige has
That was
5
a-
kids.
I was
by the
just
way,
about to
y'all.
ask how many children you
Yeah.
have. 5.
I
She
have
has 5.
5.
Okay.
16, 14, 12, 7, and 5.
Isn't that
Okay.
interesting? Look
What's,
at that spread.
boy, girl?
3 boys, 2 girls.
Okay.
And I love my girls. Too many girls. But they're the ones that are going to take care of me one day, so I have to really be good to
I
them.
will say
so
that.
easy.
With my
Girls?
mom having 2
Boys.
boys.
Oh, yeah, boys,
Boys are
absolutely.
Yeah,
so
with
easy.
my mom having 2 boys and a girl, the girl's going to take care of you when you get older.
Yeah, I always tell people that.
Always.
No, I think Bradley might take care of me.
Yeah?
I don't know.
You would
yeah.
be surprised it's probably going to be Olive.
Oh no, that girl gonna put me in a wheelchair and push me off a cliff and be
No,
like,
she gonna
"Insurance
put you in a
money."
wheelchair and have the spunk to carry you around everywhere she goes in that wheelchair. I promise you. It's that baby, man. I don't know.
Ooh,
Okay, so how did we meet?
dear me.
Really?
Yeah,
In
you
the
were doing the other clothing stuff, but I really wasn't into that. And then, no, actually, insurance is what.
That's what
Yes.
I thought.
But then you started Dear Me.
Okay, so
Yes,
I met Paige through insurance. We needed insurance because you're a Rose Pine mom.
I am.
So I was trying to keep y'all. I talk about Rose Pine on every episode.
Go Dragons.
What? No.
Eagles.
I mean, yes, I love everybody, but Rose Pine runs.
I
deep.
got a baby
Anyway,
in Dragons.
So she's a Rose Pine mom, and I needed insurance, obviously, because we bought multiple houses.
Yes, within a short time. frame.
Right. Yes. And so we
I
needed insurance.
vividly remember that.
Yeah, and it was fun. And then a hurricane happened.
Yeah, absolutely.
Immediately after, I bought 2 houses, so that's fun. And she was really busy. So I met her through insurance, and then we became friends. And then she actually didn't do insurance anymore, which I'm going to ask questions about that too.
Okay.
Okay.
I think recently what everybody has been talking about is what had happened with Troy and his job, which happened after what happened with your job. And not a lot of people know what happened
Yes.
with your job, which preceded his.
Yes.
So it was kind of like I really wanted to have Paige on because I wanted to talk about resilience,
Yes.
because what people have seen is you talking directly to the public essentially about what has gone on and the redeeming side of it. And you've talked about the struggles too. So it's not a lot of people have the bravery to talk about the struggles going on in their life. They just want everybody to see this highlight reel.
Yeah, no, my life is not a highlight reel.
Yeah, and
It's
and
ugly.
which I will say is different. Okay, that's different than being messy.
Yes.
Yes.
That's
So-
being real.
Right.
Being
So
messy
when
is
you're
drama.
discussing your own problems, and not just your own problems, but taking accountability,
That's huge in
Yeah.
my house.
is huge. So I admire it. I think it's something to be incredibly proud of. I think you're teaching something that's amazing for your kids.
Thank you.
And then moving forward, like into adulthood and decision making, like I just want you to
You're
know that
guilty
right now.
until proven innocent at my house. So that you don't even get a chance to be innocent until you prove that you didn't do it. Then I'm gonna
Exactly.
You're at fault.
Yeah.
What did you do for this to happen? That's
Right.
That's the conversation that takes place before I figure out who did what and how.
Yeah,
So
I feel like it's a good way to run it though. With teenagers.
yeah, well, and Troy being a coach, like he and I have been married for 17 and a half years. Another year and a half, and I will be a Gardner longer than I was a Marcantil, which was my maiden name. I got married at 19.
That's so exciting.
Wow.
It is. God sure did. He knew that I needed to be a young wife.
Yeah.
I had two biggest fears in life. Getting married when I was like almost 30, like that was old or something.
Yeah.
Right.
And not being able to have children. I got married at 19. I have 5 children. I think those two fears have been eliminated real
Yeah,
fast.
That's fine now. You're not afraid of anything anymore.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, I mean,
No. Yeah, so my entire life with Troy, he's been a coach.
Yeah.
Like that's all I've ever known. So I'm originally from DeQuincy, which is just a little south of here. That's where we met. I remember when we first got together, he was coaching at DeQuincy High School and then went down to the middle school because he wanted to help the middle school program because the kids that were coming up, they weren't where they needed to be at high school
Right.
level. And so since we were newly married, that was really good. And I remember painting the football field with him on the weekend, getting ready for.
so awesome.
I mean, we do and did a lot of things together. I can tell you that in our 17 and a half years of marriage, that in those football seasons, I may have missed 3 of his games. So up until 2 years ago, I went to his games because he coached everyone else's children. Like my kids
yeah.
weren't of age.
Yeah.
And so Grayson was a freshman when Troy became the head coach and things went south. So
Right.
I was like super excited that I was going to finally get to go watch a game. Not only that my husband was going to coach, but my kid was playing.
Yeah.
And
You'd waited like a couple decades.
yeah,
almost.
like all of my children have attended their very first ball game, whether it be football or baseball, depending on when they were born, within the first week of their life. Like Celeste was born November the 6th. We had a playoff game on a Friday. We had her on a Tuesday because we had playoff game on Friday.
Oh my gosh.
Like my life is very sports centered.
Right. Which I love.
And there's so much that comes from sports. It's not just the competitiveness, but there's just so many life lessons there.
Discipline.
Yes. Oh,
Consistency.
yeah, like you,
Accountability.
all the things.
Yeah.
And I think him being a coach and a teacher, I would see on the other side of the kids that aren't getting disciplined, or the kids that think they're entitled, or the parents that think their children should have all these things. And I think, honestly, I think that's why I'm a much harder mother, because of,
They need it.
yeah, like I don't want you to end up that way. And I can do all these things, and I can raise all 5 children the same way, and they're not all gonna come out the same.
Right.
But in my mind, if I can do the best I can with all these things for now, then it's up to them when they become an adult. That's on them.
Right.
I laid the plan.
Oh, Dylan.
Dylan, can we cut that out? Just kidding.
You leaned into your microphone again.
Sorry.
Okay. So I met Paige through insurance, and now you no longer work in insurance.
Correct.
So I'm going to let you tell us why you don't work in insurance anymore,
So,
which I wish you did because I need you right now.
I have several people that call me asking questions, and I just give them friendly advice the best I can. But on November the 1st, I walked into my office.
What year? Not last year. 2023, right?
Yeah, correct. 2023.
Okay. Just so everybody has a timeline.
Yes. Okay. And so backtrack a little bit to August of 2023, the night before the Rose Pine scrimmage at Westlake. That was when my marriage, my life, my entire being, I thought was just falling apart. And I was like, dear Lord, my cross can't get any heavier. Like, I know you like me, but...
Wait, August of 23?
Yes.
So before you lost your job?
Yes.
So what happened that night?
That was the night that my husband received a DWI. And
so this was before
insurance.
Oh, see, I didn't know about that. I don't think. Okay.
So my husband lost his job.
Before you lost your job in insurance? I thought it was after.
Before 2 months. 3 months.
Oh, so he lost his job first, and then 2 months later.
Yeah, like all this. So he was just trying to prepare himself for the season, and had been out drinking, just trying to calm down, I guess you could say, or whatever. And he was pulled over, and he was booked, and I couldn't get him out until the very next morning. And so that was hard because I was there at the police station to get him at 7:30, and they wouldn't let me get him until 8. And, I had to go through all this stuff, and I didn't know what I was doing. No one ever gone to jail. I had to be bonded out. None of these things. So I was like, okie dokie. And I was furious. Back then, I was a very cold-hearted person. I had grown to be very cold-hearted. Like, I've always been a very sentimental person, but over the leading years, I had just become very hard. And I think life just kind of took over, and it was the hustle and bustle of everybody, everything, 5 kids. I mean, the last 2 kids came, and I had started my career in insurance. I didn't think I was going to have any more kids. God's like, you think again. Yeah. And so we had 2 more kids, and it was just all the things.
You were doing what you needed to do.
Yeah, I was just surviving.
You didn't have time to feel too much.
No. I had no at all. Like, and I was, when my older kids were younger, I used to like love and cuddle on them, and somewhere along the way I like lost that. I was like, please don't touch me. Like, don't touch me. I don't want to be hugged.
You're gonna make me cry already.
And that was hard because I didn't realize how cold I had become. So anyways, back in August, when that happened with Troy, I bailed him out, and that was the morning of their scrimmage. And
they had school that day, right?
That was his first day for in-services. So teacher in-service started that day. They had, because the kids didn't go until the next week.
So he was late.
Yeah. And my son's a freshman playing football. And by the time I didn't say a lot on the way home. I didn't even know what to think or feel or how to act, because I was just like, is this my life? Like, what the heck is going on? And we had a lot of stress going on. Everybody has stress. And I think that's always been a big thing for me. I don't make excuses for our situation. I don't make excuses because everybody lives in a world that we don't see the doors behind. We don't see what happened, what's going on. And so by the time we got home, my son Grayson, who was a freshman at the time, he's already asking what happened. What's going on? People already, buddies from the team had already asked him, your dad got arrested? Are we still playing tonight? And I'll tell you, I was very cold-hearted. And I told Grayson, I said, over my dead body, will they cancel this game? Because it wasn't the game. It wasn't the kid's fault. And my husband took responsibility for the fact that he knew he messed up. He was in a very dark place in his life. And I was doing everything I could to just hold us together. And his mom had gotten extremely sick.
Oh, yeah.
She had a liver transplant. And, had she not got her liver transplant when she did, probably within a week, she wouldn't have been here.
Oh, yeah.
It was crazy. Mm-hmm. And Troy's an only child. And he's not your typical only child where they were spoiled. And, some only children are very spoiled. Mm-hmm. And but he didn't know how to handle it, so to speak. So he was a recluse. Yeah. Like, everything just was so internal. And so he basically just was to himself. And I had to run the show. Mm-hmm. And I just remember, I'm like, over my dead body, will they take this away from y'all?
Yeah.
And
I don't think that's cold-hearted.
I
think that's selfless,
Well,
maybe not but you're not thinking about Troy.
I have questions, you're not taking though. Away from Troy.
In my mind, taking away from the kids.
If I'm picking, if you're taking care of everything else, and he's a recluse, and he's like taking care of just himself, in that moment, I probably would have had some resentment of I'm taking care of everybody else, and you literally only have one person to take care of, and you can't do that.
And this is what you're
doing.
I
know that sounds awful, but I'm just thinking, trying to put myself in your shoes.
Like how much you're going through, because it's a load to be mom, wife, everything.
Yes, and then you have one job, man. You got one job, and like, what are you doing?
Well, you might not have thought that was heartless, but when we got ready to leave, because I wasn't not going. My kid was going, and they did.
They played, right?
They did. They ended up playing.
Was Troy, like, when?
No, he was home. Like, we got back. He texted the principal at the time, and the principal said, be in my office at this time. I dropped him off. He called me because they impounded his truck, or his vehicle at the time, so we couldn't even get it.
Oh.
So, like, it was just me to drive him. And he was told, they mutually, he needed help. Like, he was in that, he needed help beyond what was just, I need,
on the wrist.
Yeah. And, so he had to get all his stuff. And that was, I didn't cry then. Mm-hmm. Now it's more emotional to me because I see how far my husband has come. Thank God that we meant enough for him to see that. But for him to load his life into our car and everything that he has worked so hard, because he was just named the head coach in January.
Oh, y'all were so happy about it too. I remember.
I mean, that was one of the big reasons we went to Rose Pine, because we knew that was an opportunity.
Leadership, yeah.
And so when he loaded his life into the car, like, I wasn't emotional at the time, but I am, because I'm like, oh my gosh. And I remember pulling out of the field house, vividly remember pulling out of the field house, and we're driving down the road, and he was like, everything I worked my entire career for is gone because of stupid decisions.
That testimony, though, from because he's in a leadership role with kids, with young adults, these kids are about to be adults. I just think that's such a powerful testimony that he has, though, that he is willing to share with people.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Because I don't think, and not just the drinking and driving capacity, because the kids think they're invincible.
Yes. And he did too.
And they'll get away with whatever.
Yeah, even adults, if you do or know certain people, you feel like, I can get away with this.
Oh, for sure.
And his biggest thing used to be, I just drive on back roads. Well, he was actually not on a back road at that time. He had actually just gotten a tattoo. Very first tattoo he's ever gotten. He was coming back from Leesville. And it was our family brand, which is a circle G with a cross in it. Mm-hmm. And he was 2 miles from the road to turn down our road. 2.
Yeah.
And, but that, when we had to leave, that was hard, because I was like, I've waited so long and watched you coach so many other people's children.
Because that's a sacrifice.
Yeah, because I mean, the weekends are gone, the late nights. I mean, and it doesn't stop. Like when the season's over, their job is not over. The summer, they're working just as long and as many hours during the summer. So like none of that is.
There's no break.
No, ever. And so going to being a little heartless when we got home, I had taken Grayson up there, and that was hard because there were some people in the already at the field house in the parking lot, and I I had a couple people come up to me and hug me, and I like showed no emotion because I couldn't.
You probably weren't even ready to process it.
No, no, and you're right. God knew that, okay, you need this frozen heart right now, because if you break down, you'll never make it through.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I just vividly remember when those people came up to me and love him, because everybody loves Troy just as much as they love me. And
and that's what you should love, the sinner, not the sin.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And so I dropped Grayson off, and I went home, and I was like, I'm going. I am not sitting coward to
sure.
this.
Yeah.
And he was asked not to go. So that was hard enough in itself.
Oh, he couldn't even go.
No, he couldn't even go to the game. And I was worried about his mental health at that time, because mental health ended up being the root of all evil in our scenario. And mental health is huge, and people don't realize how important it is to take care of your mental health.
Yeah.
Well,
And especially men.
Yeah.
and it was on a level of like an addiction.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
And
that's something people don't talk about, is alcoholism is an addiction.
oh,
Just
absolutely.
as well as like drugs
Yeah.
are an addiction.
Yes. Yeah, they just use it as a coping method.
Yeah.
Anything to get them numb.
Yeah.
And this is horrible. And I can say this knowing that that we are in a much better place. But at that time, when I went to leave, he was basically on house arrest, and we laugh about it right now. But I told him, I said, do not kill yourself. I said, because I've cleaned up enough of your mess, and I'm not coming home to clean up. I said, so if you think we are better off without you, think again, because these kids need their daddy.
That is what he probably needed to hear, though. He needed that roughness. And you were at your breaking point. You couldn't come home and do that.
No. And I had a dad that wasn't very good to me. And I was like, no, by golly, this is not happening with my kids.
Yeah.
And I'm a very, very faithful person. I am. I like to.
We just crying through this whole episode.
Yeah.
I'm an extremely faithful person.
Yeah.
And those close to me know that. But I'm not one of those people that like stand out on the corner and wave at it. Like I'm a very internal faithful person.
Yeah.
That's just how I am.
Yeah.
Nothing's wrong with either way, but that is just me. I also am one of my worst attributes is I have a sailor's tongue. And so,
I'm trying myself to become less of a sailor lately.
I'm trying.
We have to use duck quacks on the podcast because
okay, good. I was wondering about that. I was worried about that the last couple of days. I was like, oh my gosh, if I say a word. But
Dylan adds in a little quack.
Yeah. But when I told him that, and he was like, I'm not gonna. I'm like, okay, I'm glad that you tell me that, but I'm just telling you, if you think that we are better off without you, think again. Because I'm not raising these kids by myself. They need their daddy.
Yeah.
I might not like you right now.
especially those boys.
Yeah.
Yes. But I love you.
Yes.
Love is everlasting.
Yeah.
And you can not like somebody, but you can still really love them.
Amen.
And I love that man more than he will ever know.
But you don't like him a lot of times, and that's okay. I tell
Girl,
my husband that too.
listen,
I
if
tell
you've
you,
been
I
married-
don't like you, but I really love you.
If you've been married any length of time and you ain't been almost divorced like 2, 3, 4
Yeah.
times,
you're lying, or you have your head in the sand.
you're not
you know?
really working out your stuff.
No,
Exactly. I will say that I had 2 breakdowns during this whole thing, and the first one was that night when KPLC, we were in the middle of the scrimmage, and KPLC had put out that Rose Pine head coach steps down. And I sat at the very top bleachers by some good friends of mine. And I just lost it because I didn't know what to do. But I was there. I was like, by God, I'm going to be here.
Yeah.
My son is here. I'm here. Like, all of us were there. I was not letting the shame rule my life.
right?
Like,
yeah,
it was ugly and it was horrible. And you can look at me and you can say all the things, and I don't care. I'm here for my kid. And I will tell you, that coaching staff that stepped up, Brad Ducote, and so many of them were absolutely amazing.
I love Brad so much.
Yeah.
Like,
He, because he was stepping down so he could spend more time with his family, and here he is having to step back up and take over. And I remember just saying, I'm so sorry. And they were like, what are you sorry for? But I was so incredibly sorry. But the boys were amazing to Grayson. I remember after the game, there were just tears everywhere. I was like, what in the world is going on? And Grayson is an emotional person, my oldest son. And he doesn't like people to see it, but he is. He's an emotional boy. And he was just tears. And
we need tissues on this podcast.
and the huddle of teammates that just surrounded him. And then when I got down there, the boys that embraced me was just, I was like, coaches don't get paid very much. They don't get paid for their time. But it's these things that I treasured most about.
So your community was loving to you.
Like, I never personally heard an ill word about my husband or the situation that we were put in.
No, because your husband wasn't this might ruffle feathers, but your husband wasn't a monster predatorizing our children. Your husband was a monster to himself.
Yeah, he was living with his own demons.
He was fighting with his own demons, and he didn't project that on the children he coached. Did he also teach, or was
he was a teacher as well.
He didn't. I mean, my child wasn't in there, but it seems like he didn't project that on anybody but himself.
Yeah.
So I can see where everybody is conflicted. Like, yeah, he has to be punished because we make our decisions and stuff, but dadgummit, how many people could have got pulled over that same night at that game for drinking and driving?
Mm-hmm.
You know? Like, how could they be like, shame on you, when it's not
Glass
like he
houses.
was like a predator. I don't know.
Right.
I'm not trying to condone, but there's
but
levels to it, you know? So I love that the community
the kids were impacted. It was his own life
own thing.
took
So
a different trajectory.
I really love that and that shows on Rose Pine's community. Because Rose Pine is talked down about a little bit.
I'm sorry, what?
Toward being cliquey, a little snooty. I've heard.
Yeah,
Not like,
I've heard.
really?
Yeah, I've heard too.
A little cliquey, a little snooty from outside people, I've heard. So I love that you weren't faced with a community that said, get out of here.
No.
You went to this ball game and you saw your family, and your family came out and they were like, hey, we're going to meet you where
I'm sure
you
you
are.
were scared, though.
I was.
You were terrified.
I was a nervous wreck because I was like, who's going to say what?
I'd be worried, is my kid going to get bullied? Mm-hmm. Are people going to be staring at me?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And before I even went down there, though, the subdivision we lived in at the time, Aiden Schill lived across the street. He's a senior now. And he was a big... He was a big one for Grayson. Landon Lawrence graduated last year. Love that kid.
All these mamas are going to be so proud
They're
of
gonna be
listening
boohoo.
to their kids.
Yes.
And there's so many more that if I didn't name, they'll never know. Just because they weren't named, their kids had an impact on my kid's life.
Yeah.
And I mean, Slay was a ball boy, and he didn't that year. And I mean, my kids have been ball boys since they were like, when Troy coached into Ritter, I think since they were in first and second grade, and then all the way up. Mm-hmm. So I was worried. I was worried about that, but a lot of people before I even got there took that off. Now you have those people that always have your back regardless, and then you're worried about those ones that they like to talk no matter what.
Always critical.
Always.
And if they did, I never heard it.
Thank you, all the people.
Yeah, because
normally do.
Because I know that whenever the KPLC thing came out, I just boo-hooed, and Landon Lauren's mama just got up. I don't even know how far away she was sitting from me, but she came up to me and she gave me a big old hug, and she was like, "We love y'all. Not just you or your kids, but we love you, y'all. We love Troy." Goodness, I'm sorry.
It's so easy when stuff like this happens so publicly. It's so incredibly easy for people to throw shade or make comments, or it's just so easy for people to look over and judge and shame, and you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I'm a little emotional. I'm sorry. People who are listening to this, they're probably like, what's happening? I'm crying. Paige is crying.
I'm crying.
And it's so incredibly easy for blame to be passed, for people to make all these assumptions, and I am so proud of y'all, for you specifically, for being very I'm here for my kids, and especially for Troy for owning up and taking accountability for everything, and because it impacted y'all's entire family.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not just him and not just you, but all of y'all's whole family. And I think it's really teaching your kids that the consequences of your actions, first of all, right, have ramifications, and that trickles down to so many levels.
And no one is immune to anything.
But it's also teaching them, because it's so easy for people to be so critical, especially ones who don't know you, but it's also teaching these kids that your community matters, because look at everybody that came out for y'all, and you didn't know they were going to come out that hard.
No, I didn't. I was really worried. I thought a lot of people were going to be so mad at Troy. I can't believe he did this. And I wasn't going to take up for him, but I was in a very hard spot where I was very frustrated and upset, but I wasn't going to take up for the things he did because it wasn't right. But no one, so to speak, blamed him. Mm-hmm. They're like, "I can't believe Troy did this." Okay, well, life is hard. Yeah. And sometimes demons just take over, and unfortunately, they just kind of keep on.
Right.
And I was extremely proud, because when you my husband did go to rehab, so that was kind of the next step.
Was he forced to go to rehab?
No, that was the biggest thing. I kind of live my life like this, in faith, and how rehab was approached. If you're forced to do something, you're not going to go in with a clear mind and acceptance. And I told him, I was like, this has to be your decision. And he did. And he said, "Can you get a few, some information?" Well, a buddy I went to school with, rest his soul, Blaine, had gone to a rehab in Youngsville. And Troy's thing was, the only stipulation, so to speak, he had was, "I don't want to feel like I'm in a hospital, and I don't want to feel like I'm a prisoner. I don't, because I'm not going to be able to function that way."
Right.
And I was like, okay, well, let me make some phone calls. Let me see. And Blaine Vincent, a lifelong friend, he recommended the place that we went to in Youngsville. Got that information. I got a couple other, and I just gave it to Troy. I was like, this is the information on these like 3 or 4 places. And so a couple days went by, and out of nowhere, we're driving down the road, and he was like, I want to go to that one in Youngsville. I was like, oh, okay. Like the conversation wasn't even, being talked about. Yeah. And it was finally, he made that choice.
Yeah.
And that was very, very big for me, that I was not going to force him. So he had several weeks between the time that he lost his job and then went to rehab. There was a couple week lull there. And so, so he was just at home. He had spent some time truly reflecting. Zach Williams is like his go-to music. My husband is very musically inclined. And so he started listening to music, and he found a grounding with Zach Williams music, a commonality. And so I took him on September the 1st, I think, of 2023 to Youngsville. I drove him down there. And I'm still very cold-hearted at the time. I had no emotion. Like, these tears would not have come out a year and a half ago, like, at all. And so we're just driving, and I'm joking with him and, just making light of everything. And I said, so when you get done, we're going to tag team this? And he was like, what? I was like, you do your days in rehab, and then I go to the mental institution? Is that how this is going to work? And he looked at me like I was crazy. And I was like, but I'm pretty sure I need a mental institution after this. But.
And you were about to, how long was the rehab for?
It was 30 days.
So you were solo parenting for 30 days.
Yes. And
working. Because at the time you still were
insurance.
doing
Yes.
Insurance.
And I was working 2 jobs. I was working at the stadium.
That's right.
As a waitress and a bartender, and
juggling 5 kids.
And insurance.
Cool. No big deal. It's fine.
And they all play sports.
Women can do anything, I swear.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm married to a coach and have 5 children that play something or things.
And you're also trying to fake it till you make it. Your husband's in rehab and
yes, and
everything. So that's just a testament on what a wife and
mother
would do.
Did you have help?
I mean, yes, but I'm a very independent person.
Yeah,
so I'm not gonna.
I got this.
Not that people didn't offer, family offered, but I'm just very independent, and I'd just rather do it myself.
I'm a very this is my circus, this is my mess. No one else has to clean up my mess but me.
Yes,
even though it's not a mess.
I'm just saying that 30 days of
I know
working 2 jobs and 5 kids.
I know. So
the
that's
schedule
the
just
struggle
seems crazy.
I find, and I've had to finally be like, it's okay to be like, hey, can you help a little bit?
We lived in a really our neighborhood was good about helping because Grayson drove Troy's vehicle, so he was like my wingman. Right. Grayson stepped up and kind of had to be man of the house for a little while. But the day I brought Troy to rehab was also the very first junior high and JV game.
Oh.
And I had a 7th grader playing junior high and Grayson playing JV. So I did really good. Like when I dropped Troy off, I was being real positive. I think I had a few tears on the way back, but when I made it back just in time for the games, and that was when I had a breakdown. And I had it at the game, and those that were there witnessed
the most inopportune time.
Yeah, I was just really frustrated about just petty stuff that was going on. Like the coaches were on the field, we were trying to play a real game, and I was just like, this is not how this is supposed to be. We're playing a JV and a junior high game. These are real games. And thank God David Zudak was sitting next to me. That's one of my really good friends, Alyssa. Her husband was sitting next to me, and he was like, it's okay, Paige. because she had left. And she's like my safe ground. Like, I'm a very vocal person.
She's very cool.
Well,
Yes.
Alyssa has a background in being a
Yes.
safe space for people.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
I was about to say, isn't she a counselor?
she's a counselor, so it's kind of like Paige's like flex is like my best friend is a therapist.
I think that's why she gets her hair done at Twisted Shears, because she just sits there and like, tell me more. No,
Yeah, like I've been at ball, and she's the only person that can like tell me to shut up without me getting angry.
Okay. I'm so glad you said that. I was thinking this morning, I've had several conversations with friends lately because, you know, I don't know about y'all, but like, do your friend groups kind of morph over
Yes.
a decade or whatever?
Yes.
And because you're all like kind of changing and growing at different paces, and your kids are at different phases and stages and all that, and just work and personal like takes you away. But like I've had several conversations within my friend group recently. I mean, within the past, I'd say 6 months or so. And I was thinking about that this morning. So it's weird that you say that, but everybody wants comfy friends where it's like, they tell you what you want to hear, and it's very fluffy and it's very comforting and it's very feel good. And it's very like, oh my gosh, like you're so awesome and I'm so awesome and we're just so awesome together. And I don't know about y'all, but those are my least interesting friendships that I
want honest. I want real. Like,
Yeah.
when I ask Brittany an opinion, I like that you're gonna be like, listen. So we're different, so blah, blah, blah. But she's not going to sugarcoat it, you know?
Yeah.
I love that. I love that in a friend.
I don't have the same expectations for everybody else that I have for myself also.
Right.
But I definitely don't want to give anybody else false advice or false, like give them bad advice. I'm not going to steer you in the wrong direction, but I also, same. If I'm making a terrible choice, and I mean, it could be, your opinion that I'm making a terrible choice or whatever, but at least I want friends who are going to say, are you sure you want to do that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Have you thought that through?
Do you really want to post that?
So what's going to happen after you do that? Like,
yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, what are the repercussions later?
I want people to kind of bounce things off of that are going to challenge me, to change me for the better. Mm-hmm. Like, I'll say something and I seldom am catty. Like, I don't do that. Mm-hmm. I'm more so like a fixer. Like, how can I fix, and not a people pleasing kind of fixer, but
problem solving.
But I'm a problem solver because I'm not a dweller. I don't do the whole negative Nancy thing. I don't want to sit in that.
No, because we don't have time to.
No, I'm a rule number 76. No excuses. Play like a champion. So like, when anybody has issues, I'm a fixer. I'm like, okay, this is how we're going to fix it. Moving forward.
Now go on with your day.
I want to be productive and efficient. Mm-hmm. And so I don't relate to people who just want to sit and like, and I know that advice is given all the time, or you just need to sit in your emotions and like figure that out. I respectfully disagree.
Yes.
Honestly, like don't do rash decisions. Give yourself time to think about it, but don't just like,
I can't.
If you're sad and I'm guilty of this, that's why I am an advocate of mental health, because I had to learn this. When you're in a depression, laying in the bed and wallowing in it or listening to all the sad songs, you're not going to get out.
All this? Like,
the day I brought him was hard for him because he knew he was missing both their first game. Like, Slay was going junior high, and Grayson's first JV game, which he was getting to play in and start. So that was hard because he knew he was missing that. And I was like, here's what, we talked about. And I said, I would rather you miss this for a short period of time and miss all these things.
1,000%.
And
invest.
And be here for them when they need you most.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
We can say, and that's what I told him. He was like, how are you going to do this? Because he did. He was worried because he knew I was going to have to do all this. And I was like, you know what? I am willing to make the sacrifice if you are willing to make the sacrifice to fix yourself for us.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Like, you need to work on you so that you can love you and then love us. Because ultimately, it can't love
you first.
Yeah, you can't love us unless you love you. And So when, but I did kind of lose it at the game because I was just like so upset, and I kind of turned around to everybody and I was like in tears, and I'm like, I'm sorry, you didn't know you were paying to get in a game and entertainment. I was apologizing to people because I knew I had just kind of gotten upset.
Wow.
And I just, and thankfully, I don't think as many people knew, or maybe they did, I don't know. But everyone around me was very great to me.
Yeah.
The fact that and then I knew, I was like, okay, I got it together. Because ultimately, I knew the hardest part about being a teacher's and a coach's spouse is
keeping your mouth shut at a game.
I have to be on my best behavior.
I've sat next to Paige at games before. It's so hard for her to be quiet.
Because you just want to scream. You can't scream?
Oh, no, that's thankfully most of the time Alyssa is next to me. And then if Alyssa is not there, then I have my friend Paige Cheney, Grayson, my oldest son. They're our sophomore baseball players. We have like this amazing group of moms. Mm-hmm. And I'm that mom that always had to sit in the outfield. But whenever me and Alyssa became friends, she'll touch me or pat me on the knee. And she's like, Paige. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Well, because everybody's idea of how you should behave in the stands as a coach's wife is completely different. Some people think like it's okay to be verbal and like, because
I think you're passionate.
Especially if you have a kid playing too. Like if you have a kid playing and you have a coach, husband out there.
Yeah.
And if you know anything about the game, like, people just expect you to be audible, and then there's other people who have this expectation that you should just be quiet and don't say anything.
Yeah,
which I feel like is unreal.
That is not realistic in my life. And my poor husband is a very when Troy yells, it's like you'll ask his players, and they're like, "Oh, Coach Gardner, he went off on us today," and it's rare. Like his moments are few and far between, but when they happen, they're like very impactful. He is the calm, I'm the storm all the time.
He talk a lot, and when he does talk, he's not very loud.
No, but he is more than people realize. But
you have some of the things you've said about Troy remind me of my husband. He's very reclusive with his feelings, his stress, and he doesn't talk a lot. And when he does, it's not very loud.
Yeah, I think because I'm overshadowed a lot.
Daryl's loud.
Yeah.
And you know exactly what he's thinking.
Eric's voice doesn't carry, man. Even when he tries to yell, it's like, hey.
Yeah, but how is he emotionally? Like, do you know how he's feeling?
I do, but we're so in tuned.
Oh, is Troy like that?
Yeah.
Where, but other people are like, is he happy?
Yeah. Yes.
Like, does he talk?
People are like, is he enjoying himself? And I'm like, he's having the time of his life.
Yes.
And he hasn't said a word, but I just know we are so in tune that I can look at him and I know everything he's feeling without him saying a word.
It's like there's two different types of men.
There's
men who are loud, boisterous, and that's Darryl.
Yeah.
And then there's other husbands like y'all. And my best friend Heather's husband, Brian, he's the same way. He will say like 7 words throughout the day. Yeah. And I'm like, I don't know if he likes me.
Oh, he probably loves you.
The first couple years of our friendship, I was like, Darryl would say, because Darryl and him hadn't become good friends yet, and he'd say something like, does he even like you? And I'm like, I don't know if he does. Like, I don't even know if he wants me in his house right now. Like, I'm so...
That is so
I
true.
have learned that if Eric starts... not judging my friends' lives, but if he's like, I don't think she should make that decision.
They have good discernment. Does Troy have good discernment?
Yes.
I feel like that's probably a characteristic.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I have learned when he starts like saying things like that, he likes them.
Oh.
Or like we passed your billboard on when it was on 190, and he was like, "Look, there's Brittany," and I'm like,
he likes me.
And so I'm like, okay, like. He's cool. He likes Brittany, but me and Paige are like, because we're like, bah!
Yeah,
I'm the mom at ball games that they're like, hey, can you yell at my kid? And I'm like, get off the floor!
Yes.
Quit picking flowers! You like that, Dylan? I was over here.
She stepped away from the mic.
I stepped away from the mic to yell.
Yes, that's how my life is. And once you do get to know Troy, he's like so funny.
Yeah, that's Eric.
And that's the thing about him is because he is so quiet, so whenever he starts to talk, everybody's like, wait, let me listen. Where, meanwhile, I've been talking for an hour and everybody's
they're ignoring
like,
you.
Yeah, you're like, okay, I've had enough. And
we have the same.
Yes.
Same life.
So now I don't know what those personalities are like because I don't live with one of those. But
Right.
Like, so when you're going through this situation with him and he doesn't talk much as it is, are you thinking like, do you even feel bad? Like, how are you processing this? Like, are you sorrowful about it? Like, how did you know? I guess, because did you talk over the phone or did you visit?
No. Okay. So while he was gone, we got to talk on the phone, but I want to say it was like a couple of days before I even got to talk to him. And then it was like in the evening. Mm-hmm. And so it wasn't like every day. And he did get to come home for homecoming as an overnight pass.
That's cool.
Yes. And so he came home for an overnight pass. And someone else was getting a weekend pass and met me in Lake Charles. Because, I mean, it's homecoming. It was Friday night. We
Yeah, you got lots of stuff
going on.
You couldn't get to Youngsville.
No. And so someone met me in Moss Bluff with him. And I brought him, and then after we did all the homecoming stuff, got the boys situated and where they needed to be, then I had to take him back and have him back for that Saturday night. So that was the only time I got to see him before he came home.
And what did you see? How long at that point had he been gone for?
2.5, almost 3 weeks. So but prior to him even going, he kind of started a early detox, I guess you could say.
Okay.
Because... I mean, he was on house arrest at my house.
Right.
I mean,
so from someone who has no idea what that looks like, what does alcoholism detox look like?
Well, for everyone, it's different depending on how extreme you are and but it's, you do good for the first like week or so. Mm-hmm. But then after about 5 or 6 days, that's when, because he had tried to stop drinking as much several times prior to this happening.
Right.
And
was that something that you were checking him on or he was checking himself?
I'm a detective and I'm not going to share all my secrets.
Right.
But there are lots of things that I could be a really good detective. Ooh. There are a lot of things I learned to check and look for, but I tried not to let him know because if he knew, then he would try to find an alternative route. So If I knew this was the same thing he always did, then I knew, and I would wait till a certain time to finally point it out to him. There was a lot of things that I didn't share with him that I knew about because I knew he would just lie to me that until he got out of rehab and be like, look, like I knew the signs to look for.
Right.
I'm not dumb. And like, lying by omission is still lying. And that was something that, like, if he didn't say it, then he didn't do it. Or I'd ask a question, and he would reword his answer to where it wouldn't seem like he's lying. Well, no.
That is crafty.
Oh, yes. Yes. So I had to learn to get really, really good at learning things. And, but he started to look healthier.
I said that to you.
That is the biggest first sign of knowing that he was doing better was his physical appearance.
And is that because it's like less on his liver?
Everything. Like his
whole. If you're not living good, you don't look good.
No. Mm-mm. Yeah, like he had cut his hair while he was there. They would so the place they went to was on it looked like a plantation. It wasn't, but it was like 50 acres, big old pond. They had some horses, and they would take them to the dollar store on Wednesdays, I think. And so, it was just right down the road, and then they would go back. So, if they wanted to do or get anything, but, I mean, anything else was compensated. They went through everything. Oh. And but when I saw him come
for homecoming,
I was like, you are not the same individual that I dropped off.
How was his demeanor?
Good. He was nervous just because he had been gone. Mm-hmm. And, there was a lot of working. He was working on himself. Mm-hmm. The thing about this rehab facility that was good is they handcuffed them but did not. They allowed them to live freely within their means. They didn't take their phones. Now, if they were in a session, they didn't have their phone. But if there was an emergency or something went on through the day, I could text him. So it wasn't like I was making up for 3 weeks worth of no conversation. He pretty much knew what was going on in our daily life for the most part. And so that was what I liked the most, was that he didn't go and then have to go back into the real world and be like, oh God, I don't have all these safety nets that I had. Now, granted, there was still the safety net of being there and accountability and things like that, but still, they still lived life and weren't shut off from the world. And that was huge, I think, in his recovery. But he just looked so healthy, and you don't realize how much alcohol does when you drink so much all the time, that what it does to your body, and then when you don't do it. And so when he went back, I think there was like a week and a half before he came home for good, and I had to go there about a week later, and we had a counseling session with his counselor.
Just the two of y'all?
Just the two of us with him. And I loved his counselor. All the counselors there were recovering addicts themselves, which I also really, and I think that was a big thing for him when he chose this place, was, okay, these people being in my shoes, they know where I'm at and things. And so, and he, like, if we were talking or whatever, and he'd see something, or Troy would say something, and be like, no, don't fiddle fall around it. Like, get to the point. Because that's something that he would kind of, like, go around the world to get to his answer sometimes, trying to avoid saying things. He's like, no, like, just say it. And so not only did his rehab help him, but it helped us tremendously. So he came back at the beginning of October. So he was there about 30 days. And that was, like, I was like, oh, man. But he was on he got medical sabbatical with the parish. So thankfully, he was still getting somewhat of a paycheck. They cut your paycheck down drastically, but still somewhat of a paycheck. And insurance, that was the biggest thing, because insurance is how we were able to even go.
Rehab.
Yes.
Okay.
So when we came back, he was like, I got to find a job, because he knew he couldn't go back to Rosevine.
Right.
And not at the time. And he really wants to coach. And I'm like, oh, can we just worry about us? Like, at this point, I was like, coaching is the last thing I'm worried about you doing. Like, take care of us, you know. Selfishly, like, go work, make enough money to take care of us. Well, graciously, Tom Cootie, a good friend of ours, offered him a job to work with an electrical company that in construction, and Tom was amazing. Tom and Renee were saviors to our family more than they'll ever know. I don't think they'll ever truly know. And because he actually drove Troy. They would go to Beaumont, or that's like
I remember
almost 2 hours to get to work where they were going sometimes. Well, I would drop Troy off at Tom's house, and he would ride, and I'd drop him off between 4 and 4:30 in the morning sometimes, depending on how early they had to be there, and he would ride with him to work. And come to find out, Tom is not someone that lets just anybody ride with him. He has over the years, but he faithfully took my husband to work with him. And I was forever grateful for that. And so I was like, okay, he's got a job. You're back home. Well, we're gonna make this work. Well, he hadn't been home 3 weeks, hadn't been working but maybe a week and a half. I show up to my job at insurance on November the 1st, and my boss and his HR person is sitting in my desk, and I'm like, whoa, what's going on here? And I was relieved of my duties as an insurance agent at my agency, because no fault of my own, they were going a different direction, and I wasn't part of that direction anymore. And that was extremely hard. I was like, because I, at this point, I had just made 5 years with that agency.
Yeah.
And I had been doing insurance for 10. And I'm thinking, okay, so here we are trying to get our life back on track, and my life is being derailed again. What the heck?
Oh, no.
And that was so hard because the two ladies I worked with, Maria and Miss Kim, were my mamas. I loved them. I still love them. Miss Kim Weldon is like, that's me when I'm her age. I'm her mini-me. Like, she and I were like, she was my work mom. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know what to think when this happened. Mm-hmm. I was completely crushed, and I was thinking, oh my goodness, here we are.
Well, did he keep that office, or?
He did, but he's recently closed it down. Because he ended up buying an office, an agency, or combining in Moss Bluff. Mm-hmm. And so those ladies ended up going there. I think Miss Kim has a different title with the company now, but she still works amongst them. Maria drives to Moss Bluff now. But it wasn't but a few months later that office was no longer there. And me driving to Moss Bluff wouldn't have been feasible. So I'm sure that at the time I was like, what in the world? But it was the biggest and greatest blessing to have happened to me. I was furious and upset.
Well, we're missing a large portion of why she was, because I'm pissed about it still. I'll be super honest. Because Paige is
something that me and you are about to have middle ground on, and it's nasty contract.
Well, so Paige was my insurance
maybe
lady.
Not nasty. Maybe we should take that part.
So, like, Paige was my insurance lady.
Yeah.
So now I'm like, hey, what's going on? And she's like, I'm no longer your insurance lady. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm like, why? Where are you going next? And she says, well, I can't go anywhere because there's a non-compete. Now, that happens all the time. There's like non-compete clauses, all that stuff. Mm-hmm. But not often are they enforced. Yours
yes,
is enforced. In
non-compete clause, man.
And so now you've taken, and I say what I want because I don't work for these people. Mm-hmm. But like, I'm my own boss for a reason. I don't suffer
livelihood for however long, and you shut the business down anyway.
Yes, and like I'm just gonna say, like, I'm a boss and I have employees, and like I see what their lives are, and so looking at what your life was going through, not a good time.
No,
it was definitely not good timing.
No, because I mean, those kind of contracts are in the hair world too. And you can sign one and mess up, and you can't work 50 miles with Ritter for 5 years.
Oh,
after you leave a place, Like,
yeah, mine was the whole state.
Wow.
Mine was very.
Are you feeling this anger yet, Lacey?
Wow. I just don't think that should be legal.
Well, but
like a non-compete clause, I understand client to client. Like, don't go to this policy and try to steal his client's policy.
But I could write anywhere in the state. So when I started, it was lined out parish to parish, and I knew that going into it, but I didn't really think. I was like, how does this apply? Because I didn't quit you. I was so confused, and I was like, maybe I just don't want to do insurance at all anymore. And I'll tell you, I'll keep my insurance license, but I don't want to do insurance.
Yeah. Really, you don't want to anymore?
I don't.
Oh.
I'll clean people's toilets.
Well, okay, so we didn't tell everybody what you do now for a living.
Yes, I'm actually, I clean houses. So prior to me doing insurance, when my oldest son was 8 weeks old, I started cleaning houses. My mom did that my entire life. So it was kind of something I grew up knowing what to do, how to do it. And so for 8 years, I cleaned people's houses. Then I graduated and started doing insurance. Did insurance for 10 years. And when I lost the insurance job, I just picked up more shifts at the stadium at the time. I didn't know if I wanted to go back into cleaning houses. I was like, I don't want to do that anymore.
Yeah.
And like, but
scheduling wise, it probably is better than, no? No.
I have a hard time.
Funny.
I have a hard time telling people no. My husband tells me this all the time.
I understand. That was a funny noise.
She said,
yeah, like you make your own schedule. No, not really.
No, people think that about the hair world too, but the hair world people make our schedule. The houses you clean make your schedule.
Because they're home, and like, so if I need to clean their house and I'm there at like 6 or 7 o'clock at night, they're like, thankfully I clean for some amazing people, so 9 times out of 10, everybody works with me.
Yeah.
But realistically, trying to put in some houses, and I'm like, are you gonna be out of town? Okay, I can get to you because then I'll be done at like 10 o'clock tonight. But like no joke.
Yeah.
oh yeah, because it's easier when nobody's home.
Yes,
Absolutely.
absolutely. And
mainly because I'm gonna sit there and talk to you, girl.
So guilty.
You ain't gotta clean. Let's have coffee.
That's right.
Look, you could just follow me. You could talk, and I'll keep cleaning. You just follow me. But I didn't know if that's what I wanted to do. I did clean a house for someone because they were having a baby, and I had cleaned for his parents. And so they asked, "You want to just do it just because I'm sure?" And I did it, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to do this. And I was really enjoying working at the stadium. Absolutely loved it. And so then, then the person I cleaned for, his sister's little boy had a birthday party. Can you do a deep cleaning? Yes, I can. And I did a deep cleaning. And then she was like, if you want to do a regular basis, you let us know.
That's always how it happens. It's like we lure them in
Yeah,
with a deep clean one
deep
time.
clean?
Yeah.
And then we're like, so how
Stay.
often can you do this? Can you live here? And
It's like we lured our husbands in for one date, and then we're like, "You want to stay?
you want to
Yes.
stay?
Stay here?"
And so I started doing like 2 or 3 houses a week along with my stadium schedule. Well, then a year ago, last February, I no longer work at the stadium. So I was like, well, I'm really gonna do this. Because for a while, I actually interviewed for some office jobs. I was offered a job at Pat Williams Construction to work as an office manager, and I turned it down. And I countered them with money to hire money, and they countered me back with certain things, and I couldn't do it. I was like, I can't.
What were your reservations?
I couldn't go sit back in an office.
Really?
I didn't want to do it. I love the physical work. I've always been I'm a very passionate person. So insurance for me, my passion was to help people.
Right.
Like, that's what I loved about it.
But I don't think an office manager at Pat Williams was going to really do much of the service aspect of
No.
helping people.
No, because like I can only change your numbers so much in insurance. I can only make things look so good, but I'm also going to be that one that's going to lay it out. Like,
oh, yeah,
it might be a little bit more expensive, but this is what you're getting here where you're not getting here. And I was very straightforward with people because I remember going into getting my insurance license, I knew nothing about insurance. So by golly, I was going to help my people know as much as they could in what they needed to know and not the entire insurance handbook. Mm-hmm. Where when something happened, they were going to have questions, but they like, oh yeah, we grazed on this topic. Like, I remember you vaguely saying something. Mm-hmm. You're not going to remember all those things. And so that's what I loved the most about insurance was being able to help people and let them understand, even if they really didn't, grasp something they didn't before. Well, I was like, I can't go work in an office again. I can't do this. Mm-hmm. And the more shifts I picked up at the stadium, I was, more working labor. And I was like, okay, I think I want to physically work again. So I did turn down that job. And I think I was crazy for doing that. And then the 2 people I cleaned for, I was like, okay, I think I am. Well, then I picked up their parents. So I cleaned, and their grandmother. So I have a whole family here. And I have another 3 or 4 people that I clean for that is daughter, mother-in-law, sister, like group of family. Mm-hmm. So I clean for a lot of people, but mm-hmm. like I have 2 groups of families that mm-hmm. I just clean for them. And it just kind of trickled from there. And I was like, oh, I got more than I'm ready to chew here. And, but then I just got back into it. And I'm like, you know what? I laugh about it. But as long as I am physically able, mm-hmm. I would like to just do physical labor. I at one point, I was like, I'll just carry sacks of cement all day long for 12 hours a day to not sit behind a desk.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't want to do that. And so when I decided that cleaning was what I wanted to do, I was like, okay, I'll clean your toilets. I'll clean toilets and be happy all day long.
Yeah.
And I do. And I'm very passionate.
I don't think people realize how much you're helping, though.
No, you help so much.
Well, when I clean people's houses, I try to clean their house like I want mine clean. And, okay, like, I do things that probably are not in the norm of what most people do, or set in their cost. Like, I'll wash more clothes. If I'm there, I'm going to wash your clothes for you. I'll fold them. And some people, I put them away because I know where they go. Because it's just easier. Because your life is busy. I know what my busy life is like. So if I'm there, why not?
Yeah.
Why? This is my way of helping others because...
Sounds hot.
I don't know. I mean, I wash sheets and then I wash clothes while I'm there. If they want me. Not everybody does, but I do. Or I'll do little things. Or like, hey, can you take stuff out of the freezer for me? Yeah, absolutely. Can you... My Walmart pickup's coming. Can you get it off the front porch? Yep, I'll put it up.
Yeah.
Like, so when... As crazy as it sounds, I get joy out of cleaning other people's houses.
That doesn't sound crazy at all. I honestly, like, I don't, and now you do it for a living, but I don't do that for a living. And I enjoy cleaning other people's, like, if I were to go, friend had a baby, whatever.
Yes.
And I go clean somebody else's house, I literally I'm having fun while I'm doing this. I'm like, ooh, yeah, this is so fun. Because it's not my space.
Right.
When it's my own space.
Yeah, I just get overwhelmed.
Yeah, me too. My closet right now.
Yeah, well, people are like, you must, your house must, no, honey.
No, because it's your house.
My house ain't clean, and I don't have nobody to come clean my house. Like, we all had the stomach bug over the last couple of days. I was like, it just smells like sickness in here. Can somebody clean my house? That's not me. I don't want to do it. But, and I mean, I have 5 kids.
Oh, yeah.
And we wash laundry a lot. I wash laundry a lot. And they're like, well, how do you do it? Do you have a system? No. But I'm a laundry fanatic. Like, I am weird about stinky clothes. Like, if it's on the floor, it's going to be washed.
I've honestly thought about Miss Kayla. She has over inside of the missing sock. Is that where it is, missing sock? And you can bring her apparently like baskets of dirty clothes.
And she washes them, folds them. Gentry's uniforms for DeRitter people. If your child has uniforms and my little bougie 6-year-old don't think she can have wrinkles. Okay? So Miss Kayla washes them, dries them, and irons them and hangs them up for me. So all I got to do is...
Seriously,
go get her uniform off the hanger.
And it's right next to my store. Yep. So I have thought many a time about loading up.
Yeah, because I mean, that's like convenience at its finest.
And my mama is not quite as able. So I take, and I'm very busy, so I know it sounds bad that I don't do my mama's laundry. We outsource where we can.
I don't think that's bad.
Miss Kayla is here for a reason. Miss Kayla has a service for a reason.
It's a small business.
It's a small business. I take it's got to be 25, 30 pounds of laundry up there.
How much do you think you probably pay for that?
I pay like $30 for my mom's laundry.
Stop it.
Yeah. And then Gentry's little uniforms to get them washed.
Paige's face is like, what?
To get them washed, dried, ironed and stuff.
You could legit drop off somebody's laundry while you're cleaning their house and go pick it back up in the afternoon and drop it off like you did it yourself.
It smells so good. Like if you have, I love the Mavwick stuff. I can literally take it.
We just got some for the
store.
Shut
up.
I did. So I got addicted to it on TikTok.
Yeah.
Okay. And so my whole house smells like
I'm coming over after this.
Enchanted Rouge. And
to your shop, not your house.
So I've been I'm not domestic. I know that's hard to believe, but
she does not like to be domesticated.
I don't like to be domestic.
She is a fair little animal.
If you see me, like I do several little things of domesticated duties, but like
make pretzels.
I make pretzels. I make cookies. I love my stand mixer. I did have a sourdough. I got bored with it and I threw it away.
Shut up! I was wondering what happened to it.
I can't. It's like a Tamagotchi, man. The thing died. Like, I had to throw it away. What was I just talking about? My brain.
You do little things at home and the Mavwicks.
Oh, so yeah, I discovered Mavwicks on TikTok, and I was like, man, I want my house to... I just remember being a kid. I'd go to other people's houses, and I'd smell their laundry when I walked in their house. Because you have that exhaust or whatever. You can always smell outside of their house. And then when you get inside, you can smell their laundry. And I went to all these different, people's houses, growing up and as an adult. And you just smell these different things. And so I was like, you know what? I'm just going to buy like 4 scents. I'm one of those. So I bought like 4 different scents of laundry soap from Mavwicks. And so I found one that I really liked. And I bought like 9 bottles of it for myself so I would never run out because I'm a Costco girl. I'm that girl. So if you go in my laundry room, there's like 9 bottles of this stuff.
You can clean your floors with that?
Yeah, I do.
I did not know that.
I do.
Oh, yes,
I put it in my mop water.
So, so I bought all this, and so I was doing laundry just so I could smell it in my house. I was like, who has laundry? Bring me all the clothes.
I actually sometimes don't wear perfume.
Really? So
because I use the Brazilian Summers one.
So I love Enchanted Rouge. Yeah. I did not try Brazilian Summers. I did try Volcanic.
Yeah.
And then I tried Lux.
I have Lux right now.
So, but I'm an Enchanted Rouge girly.
Okay.
So I brought in Lux, Goddess, and Enchanted Rouge in the store. In laundry soap and room spray, I think. And then I also did rug deodorizer, too.
Okay, I need oil.
Listen, I can't take your list right now. I'm just kidding.
Listen, have your people call my people, okay? I can't be bothered with your order right now.
I do the same thing with Debbie. I'm like, I say, I'm gonna need you to like make or get me some coffee or whatever for Darl, I'm like, I need you to get me this coffee, and she's like, I can't process that right now. You're gonna have to wait till I'm like there.
I don't know why that tickled me so hard. I think because you've always been like, okay. And then you're like, I can't.
Yes, because you've got to learn boundaries.
Yes, she can tell me no. That's okay.
Oh, it's not a boundary for me. That's just my brain won't.
Yeah, her brain can't. I'm crying because that was fun.
I would have to take notes for that, and I put my phone on Do Not Disturb because it's already lit up 57 times since we've sat down. So
well, that was me and insurance. I was like wanting to do all the things. I mean, I would pull over on the side of the road, turn my hotspot on, and help somebody get car insurance so they could drive off the parking lot with the new vehicle.
And you're like, I'm trying to get to practice.
Yes, girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a slave. You're a slave to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that's probably one of the things that I like most about not doing that anymore.
Yeah.
You literally, I think I would love, I don't know if I would love, because I don't do that for a living, but I think I would love not having the workload to take home with me.
That is huge.
Yeah.
Because like their house is done, I go home.
Yeah, you don't have to think about it anymore.
Yeah. Now I might cry until I'm done because I'm like, I can't leave here until it's done. And that's very rarely. And those are like deep cleans or one-time cleans or move out. Move out cleans are the worst. They're the hardest. Just FYI. Oh, everything's out of there. No. You clean every square inch of it. Yeah. And I have done a couple of move-out cleans for a couple of property management. And I'm very, but yeah, I'm not as...
It's awful, huh?
Yeah, I spent 20-something hours on a house a couple weeks ago because... I'm like, my name is everything. That's all I got. Mm-hmm. Like, you can talk about me. I don't care. But my name, when it comes to you referring people... That's huge.
You can say you don't like me, but don't say I don't do bad. Don't say I do bad hair.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So I was like, oh, yeah, that one was rough. I wanted to cry getting finished with that one. I asked Celeste to come help me the last day. I was like, just wipe those baseboards. I just got to finish right here. Just do the baseboards.
Here's a scrub brush.
Yeah,
just do that.
I was like, I'll pay you $10.
Okay, so now that we're talking about your business, so I ask everybody 2 questions.
Okay.
About their business. What was the best thing you ever did for your business?
Deciding to do it.
Well, that's
how did I know? I was like, doing it.
Yeah. Because you weren't sure if you wanted to do it anyway.
Because I didn't know that I wanted to let this be the path I was going to do again.
Right.
Because before when I cleaned houses, I knew there was an end date eventually. I mean, and when I cleaned houses before, I cleaned houses with 3 little children.
Yeah.
Like cleaning houses now, I got this.
Yeah.
Like you put me in a house, I ain't got 3. Like at one time, I had 3 children, 4 and under.
Yeah.
And I breastfed. So I'd stop, nurse, and I have a walker, and I had 2 other ones. My children
that
learned how
is
to
not hustle. I don't know what is.
Look,
and I was going to McNeese at the same time.
Me and my husband, we
dumb.
don't argue, but he makes me aggravated sometimes because he'll like to make excuses about people. People need babysitters. That's not the excuse. But he's like, well, maybe they needed help. This episode of Big Girl Britches is brought to you by Buxton's Arctic Air AC and Heating. Buxton's Arctic Air AC and Heating specializes in providing high-quality HVAC services tailored to the unique needs of every home and business. Our services are designed to ensure comfort, efficiency, and reliability from expert installation to ongoing maintenance and timely repairs. With a commitment to excellence and customer satisfaction, Buxton's Arctic Air keeps your environment comfortable year-round, delivering the care and precision you can trust. Family owned and operated, serving West Central Louisiana since 2010. Now back to Big Girl Britches. Moms can do anything with a baby on their hip.
Yeah, and that was hard.
Not that we should have to, but we can.
No.
It's not easy.
And I think back to it now, and I'm like, how did I do that? That was so dumb. Like, but I just made it work. And people ask me all the time, because, I mean, okay, basketball season's wrapping up this weekend, but I had 4 in basketball. My oldest is baseball. So,
oh, yeah, baseball and softball are like,
yeah,
we're practicing already.
Yeah. And, so I had 5 kids in 5 games from Florine to Westlake. Like,
That's a
when
lot.
people talk about their villages, I'm forever grateful for the village of people that are in my life.
Yeah.
Because...
Oh, no, I wasn't meaning like we have to have babysitters sometimes for things. I was meaning like...
No, we can do anything.
Yes.
Yeah, but people are like, well, how do you manage? I don't.
We just do
We
it.
just do it.
You become acclimated to their new normal.
Yeah, and then when you're out of it, then you're like, oh my.
I know. You ever spend time around people who only have 1 kid?
Oh.
She only has 1 kid.
You want to come live at my house for a day?
Uh-huh.
And
I'll take the extras.
Because when you only have 1, it's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah,
And you have 1
yes,
kid.
because that's all you've ever been acclimated
and they
to.
latch to you, and you're on them, and you know, it's a lot. And then you add more kids to it, and then they start fighting amongst each other too. Like it's like you're dealing with civil war.
Yeah, like in your own house.
Sibling war.
And in your house, in public. You know?
Oh, you know my least favorite phrase that people tell me in public? You have your hands full. Baby, I know I got my hands full. Shut it. Do not come at me. That is not a compliment that you just gave me.
That is not. I don't
tell you that you're handling it with grace or something, you know.
Yeah, you must have your hand. Yeah, I sure do. And I just keep on marching down the line.
Right, no, they ain't in my hands.
It's redeemed when people say things like, and you probably get this because your kids are well behaved, but I will get, like, we'll be in public, and we've gotten this compliment several times because we have 3 kids, you know, and people will walk up to us and they'll say, I just want you to know that your children are so well behaved.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You know, and I'm like, oh.
That was the best thing you could have given me today.
Gentry's gotten paid from strangers a few times in restaurants, like several times. A little $1 or $2. And they'll say, because you were just so good
And see,
today.
that's how you know you only have 1 kid. Because when there's 3 or there's 5, ain't nobody paying nothing.
It's little old people. Little old people love Gentry, and they'll pay her $2 for being good.
Okay, when my kids come at me and say, Mama, it's only $20, I was like, multiply that by 5. That's 100 right there. Well, it's only $100. That's $500 right there. Boom.
Yeah.
So, no.
Yeah.
So I realize, especially like when I'm around certain people sometimes, and it's not their fault. They didn't have this many children. But they're like, they are like, oh, well, it's only, I'm like, yeah.
Listen, Daryl's daddy is one of 9, and his mama was one of 9. And family is so, I think, we're thinking people think it's annoying or, you know, it's a lot of kids. It's, you got your hands full or whatever. When we go out in public and Daryl sees a family with a lot of kids, he literally stops and he goes, I want that so bad. He like values big families so much, and I think the children of big families,
I'm one too.
they
So.
end up growing up and they have this huge appreciation for family and community and this bond, you know. Envy those relationships.
And me and my siblings, we like I was not a tattoo person, and I got a tattoo, and my tattoo is based off of my mom and 3 other siblings. It's the 5 of us.
And see, I envy that because
Like,
y'all probably really enjoy holidays.
We have
together
our own
and stuff.
Snapchat fam bam. Like, we talk to each other. And then whenever you get married, then your spouse gets to be included.
Yes.
But not until then. Like, we're very, like, we are. And, I mean, like, Mardi Gras coming up, and my sister owns a business in Eunice.
Yeah.
And the last 2 years I've worked for her, and I'm going this year. And she's 37 weeks pregnant and has almost 2-year-old. And I say, and she said, y'all just pray for me that I don't have this baby yet. And I said, I'll be there. You just throw all the things my way.
What business does she own in Eunice?
She owns the Little Green Bar.
The Little Green Bar?
Yep. And it's on 2nd Street in Eunice. And so in Eunice for Mardi Gras is a huge Cajun music festival.
I didn't know that.
And everything happens down, and I work their beer booth.
Yeah.
And and you see all these people, and it's amazing. And this year, I think they're having 2 stages. They have amazing music, all sorts of stuff.
So if you go to Eunice for Mardi Gras, go to a Little Green Bar.
Yes.
Heck yeah.
Yes.
And hit up Paige at the beer bar.
Yes.
The green bar.
But you work
the beer booth.
The beer booth. Yeah. The beer booth.
The beer bar.
I'm as sober as they come, but I'll hand them out to you.
That's cool. That's what our people like to hear.
Yes.
Do you make good tip money doing that?
I hope so. I mean, I have.
She said,
Slay needs braces, so.
I mean,
really?
Yeah.
Oh.
But yeah, I'm working because for them it starts on Friday all the way through Tuesday, and so
I'm staying up there.
I'll probably drive back once or twice, but yeah, I'll stay at my sister's because like Friday and Saturday the street don't close till 2 a.m.
Wow.
And I'll get there at like 8 or 9 a.m.
So when is that?
Starting this Friday to Mardi Gras, because then on actual Mardi Gras is when they do the big run, and theirs is the old Cajun Mardi Gras where they wear the
suits,
the outfits and stuff. They're not like the New Orleans one. These are the Cajun Mardi Gras.
Yeah, and Mardi Gras.
Yes, and it's so fun.
We went to DI's last year, and they do a showing, a presentation.
DI's?
It's a Cajun restaurant in Basile.
Basil. That's how you say that?
Basile. That's how I say
yes,
it.
and it's not far from Eunice.
No,
I'm
not
from
far.
here.
And it's a great time. It's a good restaurant. I think you should go during Mardi Gras though. And we're not Cajun. There's not everyone in Louisiana is Cajun. I think that's a hard thing.
But you're immersed in the culture.
We're in Cajun culture. I grew up in Louisiana.
Cajun.
You know, I'm from here. So I have never watched the true Cajun presentation. I've heard of chicken runs my whole life. I know what they dress up in, all that. Y'all, they were full suit, mask, everything, and they come around to your table, and they don't talk to you, but they'll come around, and they touch their hand, and they're wanting change. They're asking for donations to go towards their gumbo at the end of the night. Traditionally, I think.
Yes. And basically what they're doing is making, like, during the medieval times, they're making fun of, like, the kings and queens and stuff. So that's why they wear these masks, so that no one knows who they are or where they come from, and they're begging.
And they're walking. They walk. They don't just walk in. They're walking, and they come and they're like begging.
It sounds creepy.
It is a little creepy, and so you're like,
if you don't
know, it is a little creepy. So, but it was. I knew, and I was still like, oh, it's so. I was interested, but I'm like, you're kind of creeping me out. Can you say hey? You know, creepy and begging.
Yeah, they were creepy and begging.
They were. Why did they do that?
I don't know. But then I was going to ask you. Okay, so fast forward to Troy. We got off on a New Orleans or Mardi Gras tangent. So fast forward. Troy is back at Rose Pine.
Yes.
And how did that happen?
So,
because we thought he was done.
Yeah, we thought he was done. We knew that he would need to at least be away for a year before they'd even given an opportunity to try to come back. Mm-hmm. And so this summer I was probably in the most depressed state of my entire life. because he was battling wanting to go back to coaching. And he knew that if he wanted to go back to Rosepine, he needed to go elsewhere before he could go to Rosepine. To even be given the chance to go to Rosepine, he needed to prove himself, you know. So he talked to, he actually talked to Brad Kellogg at South Boulevard, which is a great friend of my husband's. And he talked to the coach at Sulphur. And I told my husband, I said, you can't go to South Boulevard. And he was like, why? I was like, because your loyalty to Brad Kellogg will not allow you to leave. And I'm not moving our children. I love our community. Our community has been amazing to us, and our kids want to stay here. And I said, so ultimately going to South Boulevard is going to be too hard because you would not be able to leave him. Because Troy does have a lot of loyalty. Because, I mean, Brad Kellogg done a lot in our lifetime, you know, our marriage together. He's a great coach, and he would have been a great asset to South Bow. And I said, nothing against Sulphur, but it's gonna be easier to leave there. And he was going to work with good coaches, but he didn't have the personal ties that he did with South. And so I think because there were people that thought he was going to South, and I think some people were like, what the heck happened? Ultimately, he wouldn't have been able to leave there.
Yeah.
And I wanted,
that was always the goal.
If you're going to coach again, I want you where my kids are. Because this was the first time that we didn't move our children where he went. And so he took a job at Sulphur to coach football. And Cody Garinger is the head coach there. He was great to Troy. Mr. Poole and the administration at Sulphur were really great. They gave him an opportunity where he hasn't been given an opportunity elsewhere.
Yeah.
And, you know, knowing what has happened, you know, somebody's got to take a chance on you. And I'm forever grateful that Sulphur did that. We didn't think that the opportunity would come back, but when Coach Rose Grant stepped down, they opened up the head coaching position. Troy did interview for the head coaching job back at Rosepine. So they opened it up at the beginning of December, and then did interviews the week before Christmas, and then we didn't find out until midway through after we came back. So it was like a month. It was like 6 weeks before we found out what was happening. Do you know what those 6 weeks of my life were like?
Oh man!
Like the back and forth, the unknown. Like, I mean, I know that they were trying to make the best decision possible, and I'm grateful that.
Yeah.
But our family's life was just hanging in the wind.
Balance.
You're like, no big deal. Could you give me a little wink or something?
Yeah, like it wasn't just him; it was our entire family here that were like, oh gosh. And so that was probably the longest 6 weeks ever to find out. And so we thought when they went back to school they were going to find out on that Monday, and then they were like, no, we're going to find out on Wednesday. I'm like, oh my God, if we don't find out soon, I'm going to lose my mind.
Yeah.
And so I called Troy. He was like, I don't think we're going to find out till Friday. I'm like, oh my God, what is going on? And so then he calls me back later. And I'm like, hello. He's like, hello. And I'm like, oh, I could hear the happiness in his voice.
Yeah.
He's like, I didn't get the head job. And I'm like, well, you seem happy. He's like, but I'm coming back as the offensive coordinator. And I said, thank God. Like,
that's awesome.
The principal called him and didn't even give much time for it to sink in that he didn't get the head coaching job, but he got the offensive coordinator job, and they wanted him back now. And so then began the process of us having to figure out, because, see, people don't realize that when teachers and coaches move in the middle of a school year between parishes, it prorates their pay. So we then had to look at every dime there was, because then we're like, okay, financially, how are we supposed to structure this for us to be able to come back? Because we want to come back now, so because he won't get his full paycheck until September.
What?
Because they prorate it for the remaining of the school year.
What is prorate?
So teachers work 9 months.
Yeah.
But they get paid for 12. So their paychecks are for 12 months, so that way they don't go the summer without getting paid.
Okay.
Right.
So yes, when you say a teacher is not working or whatever, and they're still getting paid, technically they just, instead of getting a larger lump sum for 9 months, they spread it out so they get a paycheck all year long. Well, they prorate the remaining school days left to his coaching supplement, and there's a big algorithm that goes with it, and it's like a lot.
So he was not getting paid his full amount.
He will not be until September.
Oh, he still is not.
No.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when we were like super excited, and then for 3 days later we were like, oh my gosh, we got to figure all this out.
But he's not driving to Beaumont.
Or Sulphur,
riding
yes.
to Beaumont.
Correct.
Or driving to Sulphur.
No, and there was a lot of positives there. We were like, look, we can make this, we can do this, all these things can work. Because he wanted to go ahead and be there for like spring, so that for football, like when the weight room and everything, and that way he's not just coming in during the summer. And his second sport is actually baseball, and so he is getting to coach. And my oldest son is a sophomore on the Rose Pine baseball team. So, and then our second son will be a incoming freshman this year, and so he will get to.
It's so exciting for y'all.
It is.
I was gonna ask if he was going to get to ever coach again, but then you answered my question way earlier when you were like, he wants to get back to coaching.
Yeah, I had a hard time with it.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I had a lot of mixed emotions. Not that I've always been a coach's wife. Mm-hmm. So when I wasn't a coach's wife, it was weird, mm-hmm. but it was cool, but this is what he's called to do. Yeah. He's really good at what he does. And he has a testimony that he can share with so many mm-hmm. people and these kids. And I hope that his story and my story, that people can see that we went through so much. Don't think there wasn't a time that I just was like, if I can just leave and just be done with this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, but I fought for the longest time for our children.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Troy and I are in a better place as a married couple than we've ever been in our 17 and a half years married.
Yeah.
Amen.
And I am forever grateful that he decided that he was worth enough to take care of himself, to want to be that for us.
Yes.
And so tough times, they're rough, but there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And there were so many times that I said, dear Lord, I know you like me. I know you think a lot of me, but this cross can't get any heavier.
Mm-hmm. Well, we talked about this at church over the past month. We've been talking about being good in tension with an S. And one of the lessons was about suffering and suffering. Like, are you suffering or are you suffering well? Yeah. Because everything is supposed to be, for the greater good, and it's part of God's plan, and we just have to trust it. And even, with death, sickness, suffering.
Yeah.
Yeah, life is not all happiness.
No.
Yeah.
And you have to be able, and I think that's what makes us stronger Christians, is to be able to make it through these things.
Yes.
It's just in those moments you're
being built during the trials.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, do I really need to be built this strong?
Right. I don't think though that it was happenstance that this all happened on the night that he got a tattoo with the cross, with y'all's family brand.
Didn't think about that.
And he didn't take a back road. Mm-hmm. And all of this, he took it all.
And that he was allowed to get a tattoo when he'd been drinking.
Yeah, I know, right?
It's kind of weird for me.
To me, when you said that, I was like, because God had a plan.
He did.
Mm-hmm. God took Troy out of his darkness, and he, Troy brought himself out, but God. And now he has a story that he can share with y'all. All have a story, and a lot of people I think would have
shied away from being so open about the experience. But you've been so transparent in the process, and not in a messy way, but in a testimonial, truthful way. Because a lot of people could have probably, along the process, there were probably things that would irritate you about this or that or whatever. And maybe somebody lesser would have said, oh, blame this or oh, blame that or this inconvenience, Mm-hmm. But the entire time I feel like it was very we're taking accountability and this is what we're dealing with right now. And here's what we can do and here's what we can't do.
And I think you handled it with grace because, like I said, I haven't seen anything. I don't know anything. So there was no Facebook blasting. There was no,
Well, you're also not in Rose Pine too, but
Yeah.
I didn't see anything either.
No.
To
Yeah.
be quite honest, that was negative. But I didn't also know the whole story. But I also don't spend a whole lot of time nosing
Right.
into what other people have going. Now I would check on you.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah,
and I'm very grateful. I mean, there were so many people that did, and I'm just forever grateful the community that we live in that and have embraced him coming back.
Yeah.
Their excitement with him
That says
coming
a
back
lot.
is, I mean, it was like 18 months ago, and so
I think we're so fearful of what other people are gonna think or what they're gonna say, and like that makes us shy away from really telling everybody what we're going through, and we're so apprehensive because we think how we're gonna be received by it. But honestly, I feel like y'all have. I mean, it's really affirmed. People are so good, and we don't give them enough credit for that. Because there's a couple out there that just, that are not
And they seem to
good.
get the attention.
And they seem
but
to get
attention
the
needs
most
to be on
attention
good.
is
you
the
know?
messy, whiny ones. But like, people are just so good and they want to help.
Yeah.
in
and they
whatever
do.
way
They have a
yeah.
they have a big heart, and they know everybody has faults. Everybody messes up, and that's
Yeah.
the biggest thing is to understand that you're going to mess up, and where you mess up might be extreme or not.
Yeah.
There are people there to.
We
love
talked
and
about
support
that on Caitlin's episode. I think it's like you don't start. If you're judging, you've not endured enough yet in your life, which you're blessed. I think judgment comes with ignorance. People are judgy because they've not endured, they've not suffered, they've not had to take accountability or suffer consequences yet. And unfortunately, the suffering is what evolves us as people and as believers too. And so when somebody tells me something that's going awry, whether it was by their own doing or just circumstance, like I feel like I've just, you suffer enough in your life and people come to you and you're like, I'm not judgmental about that at all. How can I help? What do I need to do? Like,
Exactly. Like, put me to work. I'm a fixer, like you said.
Yeah.
Like, what can I do to help you fix this?
right. Like, where is there to blame? Like, what time? Why are you laughing?
Because I was trying to hide from the camera that I had to reach in my shirt and get my ear.
We're all serious talking about, and Lacey's chasing an earring in her shirt.
Sorry. Carry on.
Okay. Anyway, we're gonna have to wrap it up. But I am very thankful that
I'm
you
so thankful.
agreed to come on and
Yes.
expose yourself so openly. I appreciate it.
Thank y'all so much for having me. It's something that I've actually wanted to share with people for a very long time.
Really?
See, this is so perfect.
I'm glad we got to have you then.
Is there anything else you want to add?
Yeah.
Since you're on.
This is your show.
I'm very, very incredibly thankful for my husband and my kids
Don't make me cry like
Dad, go
and
ahead,
and my family. The ones they stood by us regardless of our faults and miscomings, and I'm incredibly grateful, and I thank God every day that He chose me, whether I thought so in that moment or not, to walk this path, as ugly as it may be, so that maybe someone else that is going through something similar can know that they're not alone and can get through it.
Right.
But yeah, I'm forever grateful for all the things, and I can't tell you how much I'm thankful that my husband loves himself enough to love us.
Oh my gosh. Sorry, y'all.
Anyway,
Well, I am honored to be able to witness the grace that you have showed over the past 18 months. I mean, as a wife and a mom, what you did isn't easy. It's very hard. Seeing your husband being away, not getting to talk to him, not having your support, your person. Because in a marriage, like, your best friend is your best friend, but your husband is who you go to most of the time for everything. So you not having that was hard for you. And I just want to say, I see the grace, and I love it. And props for that.
Thank you very much. I appreciate y'all.
I'm glad you came.
Yes,
Me
I'm
too.
so glad you came.
I hope everybody loves it. 'Cause
I do too.
I've been wanting the full story, and I just wanted to get it straight from you.
Yeah.
So thank
Since
you for
Brittany
sharing
started
it.
talking about it, I'm like, I gotta know. I don't know anything. I gotta know.
Yes.
So thank you, dear.
Thank you
All
all
right.
very much.
Thanks for tuning in, y'all. Oh, also next week, we're not going to have a guest next week. We're going to sit that one out for a minute, and we're going to address, we have so many questions that have popped up.
Yes.
Not just the Google form that everybody's filled out, but also on past posts over on the Facebook page. People have had questions that they wanted answered by us and guests, and then also situations to weigh in on that people have submitted anonymously on the form.
Yeah.
So we're going to do that next week. So it should be fun.
Yes.
So if y'all want to fill out the Google form or send us
excited.
a message or submit it anonymously.
You can just hear me and Brittany ramble.
Oh my gosh. All right. Love you guys.
Love you guys. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.